you everyone for coming to this year's last meeting of the Finance Committee. Before we begin, I'll just note that this meeting is being held on the traditional unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh Coast Salish people. The meeting is being live streamed and the audio and visual recording will be available after the meeting. Footage of the viewing may be viewed inside and outside of Canada. As is usual, we'll just note the meeting decorum. Of course, the board has a strong commitment to ethical conduct. And in doing so, we ask that all delegates request to speak through the chair this evening. Civility is maintained towards others. Staff are able to submit objective reports without influence or pressure. Committee members refrain from personal, inflammatory, or accusatory language. And everyone presents themselves in a professional and courteous manner, as we all do in any event. So thank you for that. There are no delegations this evening, so we'll move to item number 2, information items. First is 2.1, a financial update, April 2019 year to date. And David, turn to that.
Thank you. So this report is year-to-date operating fund results for the district. Just go through some of the highlights, and we've got a slide deck here, which is really just the tables that are in your report, and just talk about them. So year-to-date April 2019, we're showing a surplus of about $10.23 million in the operating fund, compared to $6.97 million last year at the same time. The increase, $3 million, it's a combination of increased revenues, some lower capital lease costs, lower capital purchases, and that's offset by our increase in our expenses for the district. And the $10.23 million that we're seeing surplus for the end of April, that compares to our amended budget. We're expecting to see it use $5.2 million for surplus. Because we still have May and June to spend on, a lot of our spending happens those last 2 months, and we'll show you at the end, near the end under our projections. We're planning to spend about $10.3 million. That's so on the revenue side, there's $8 million increase year over year in the operating grants from the ministry. And there's 2 components to this increase. First factor is the ministry increased the per pupil funding by $122, and that resulted in an additional $5.9 million district. And the second one was the ministry also increased the supplemental funding to support students with special learning needs, and that accounted for the balance of $2.1 million. So that's that top line there under operating grants. The other provincial grants line, there's a decrease of about $1 million year over year, and that has to do with the timing of the district receiving the equity grant from the ministry. And we reported about this back in February of this year, and what the ministry did was that they, for the 17-18 school year, the district received an equivalent portion of the grant throughout the year, and for 18-19, the back end loaded it, so we received the majority of the grant last quarter of the school year. So we'll, because this is to the end of April, we'll see the balance of it in May and June. Moving on. Oh, and the final one is the investment income line, and that's to do with funds that the district holds with the Central Deposit Program of the ministry. And do see an increase in the interest rate earned due to the Bank of Canada increasing their rates. Plus, we've also had the additional $65 million from the BC Hydro transaction earlier this year. So that's the central deposit program, higher interest rate as well. Moving on to salaries. You see our total salaries number there, and this is a separate table. You don't actually have this in your report. We just broke out the salary section from the first table. We expect, we're about 80% spent on our budget as of 2018-19, 79.1%, compared to 80% last year, which is where we anticipate our spend level to be. Seeing that the majority of the salary cost is for teachers, and being 10-month employees, so we should have 80% of the budget spent. So some of the highlights are under the educational assistance. With the amended budget that was passed by the board, set a $1.5 million special fund that would be used to support students with special needs, because there was some vacancies with those positions. We still see some shortfall there, not shortfall, but the spend level is not as high as what we would anticipate it to be. There still are some further vacancies that we're seeing that are coming in. And we're expecting that by the end of the year, there would be about a $700,000 vacancy savings left in that category. Under other professionals, in the amended budget had an amount for a wage lift in there, and this hasn't been paid yet. We're still waiting for BCPC, and then the senior management team has to make that final determination about the increase. So we do. We net out that wage lift amount. We see ourselves being about 5% spent number as well, so the same sort of level last year. Principals and vice principals also has a wage lift portion in their budget there. And again, same as the other professionals, we're waiting for approval through BCPC, and then management approving that final decision. If we move that $430,000 roughly in the wage lift, still the expense is about $19.7 million, so it's still a bit of an increase over last year, which is a result of wage lifts that have happened throughout the year. And for the substitute salaries, wages, this category is charged wages when the staff person that's being replaced is still receiving wages, so paying two wages for the same position. We anticipated there would be more POCs on staff this year compared to 17-18. See that by the budget being increased just about $1 million from $9.2 million to $10.2 million. The actual expense, is $7.7 million to the end of April this year. It's about 1.5 million higher than the actual expense of last year, 6.2 million, and that's reflected by the fact that there's more TPOCs on staff this year. Support staff category, there's about $500,000 of maintenance working time, which is now being charged to capital account instead of the operating account. How's it changed year over year? So the change year over year is, even though it's up about $800,000, there's still a certain amount that we're taking out of that operating account, charging capital projects, such as installation of portables. And then for the teacher category, pretty well on track there. There is a lower average teacher salary cost that have this year compared to what was in the budget. And then same as last year, and that's has to do with teachers retiring and replacing with newer teachers or less experienced teachers coming on. Moving on to service and supplies. Just talk a little bit about benefits here. We budgeted a factor of our wages for full benefit costs. And as you can see in the report, in the amended budget, we factored a benefit rate of 26.35%. And our actual benefit rate for the first 10 months is 25.76%. And this is consistent to what happened last year as well. Their budget for 18-19 or 17-18 is 6.73%, and the actual benefit rate for April 2018 was 25.59%. So because these are wage-related benefits, and benefits are based on a calendar year, is the way the T4s are done, or on a calendar year is the way the T4s are done. So you should start seeing the benefit cost increasing in the last half of the calendar year. We don't see that happening because our fiscal year is split over 2 periods. So now moving on to service and supplies. As we talked about before, there's 3 main categories for services under service and supplies that use majority of the budget. So services, supplies, and then utilities. And if you combine these 3 categories, they use up 83.6% of the $49.23 million budget. So we'll talk about what's happening in those categories. So under services, you can see that we've got some additional costs in there year over year. The budget increase of $1.4 million, and our actual increase is actually down $161,000. And some of the projects that we have in there for 18-19 are the reconciliation carbon project. We've added some funding for local bargaining support staff. Added some consulting costs for the initial stages of capital asset management plan. Technology cost increase, and then the grant that we talked about earlier, $1.5 million grant that was established out of the vacancies from the educational system savings. Last year, the board approved a grant of $1.2 million, about $300,000 more for that special grant that was established year over year. And that falls under the services category. Under the supplies category, the $14.9 million budget, similar to the $14.8 million that budgeted for 17-18. in this category, there are some cost overruns for projects, about $370,000. Increased cafeteria costs, about $400,000. And that relates to some increased food costs as a result of the tariffs, and then also lower sales in the cafeterias. And don't have in 18-19 compared to 17-18 budget student learning grant. So part of that reduction in the actual spending under supplies, $798,000, relates to the 1.1 student learning grant that we don't have this year. But what is included in there is there's more spending for furniture, equipment, and computer supplies, computer hardware at the schools. And under utilities section, you may remember that during the amended budget we added $700,000 for the for natural gas as a result of the Enbridge pipeline explosion that happened in October. So majority of that $1.4 million increase year over year is a result of the natural gas costs. And we're anticipating that just for the natural gas costs, it's going to be $1 million over budget based on where the pricing levels have been. That's the utilities cost there. So you can see under natural gas, we only have about $260,000 left for 2 months, but we know we're going to use that up the over the budget. So just moving on to projections. We have made some changes to this table from what's in your report, and we'll update the report and get it out to everybody. What we were looking at was under the benefit costs, the table in your report shows a variance of about $2 million as far as what our $2 million to the good as far as what our spending was going to be compared to what the budget is. We've looked at that again now that we have actual April and May information. And our projection initially was low, what our spending was going to be. So if you look at the benefit line up on the screen there, you can see the variance is about $788,000 compared to just over $2 million in your report. We don't have the actual June number in there. We've projected a higher number than what was in the initial projection in the report. And we're anticipating that at the end of the day, where the amended budget says there's going to be a deficit of $5.2 million that needed to be used from our unrestricted surplus. We're actually going to need about $1.9 million from the unrestricted surplus, which means that our surplus balance could be higher at the end of this year next year. That won't be determined until after we finish the audit. 18-19 school year. And then finally, that's just the updated table, which is on page 8 of your report. You see the change between the $5.2 million that deficit that was projected in the new budget, $1.9 million in our projections. So it makes up the $3.3 million difference. And when we look at the pension plan, the teacher's pension plan, and the NPP plan. There are rate increases that we saw January 1st, 2019, and budget for 2020 as reflected by about a $2.8 million savings in pension costs year over year. So we're taking the savings.
Questions, add? Trustee Baird.
Thank you. I actually have two if I may.
Sure.
In the charts that you have, that amended budget, that's just the name of the budget now, right? It doesn't mean that all of those items were amended.
Chair, so board approved the amended budget for 18-19 at the end of February. So that's what we're using is what was approved at that time.
My second question is regarding the lifts in salary. I think that that's been discussed since October, November. I don't think it's appropriate. Sorry, Chair. I don't think it's appropriate that people are waiting this long to find out if their salary increase is going to be paid. Chair, I don't know what the procedure would be to for the board to write a letter expressing need to speed up their approval. Or
I think the Secretary should bring.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The wage that you're referring to were wage slips last fall that related to approval under BCPC under temporary relief from the annual wage freeze. The assumed lifts in the amended budget for vice principal and other professionals relate to the process we went through since the turn of the year. We'll wait till we finished up in probably January. Classifying all of our positions accordance with a benchmarking process, and we employed Western Compensation Benefits to do that. So those wage lifts haven't happened yet because BCPC hasn't approved them. And SMP hasn't seen any. But they were built into the
Chair, if I may, that's January. This is June. What takes BCPC so long?
Maybe Carmen, can you help us with this?
Through the chair. So we are actually in conversations with Western Compensation and BCPC because we have been, Laura Lee and I have been working with them. So where they've landed isn't reflective of our market. And so we're adjusting some information. We're close. It's not that it would be retroactive. So the salary would be retroactive to the beginning point, but we are in dialogue constant, like this week, every week we're in dialogue, and it's just, there's some tweaking with the whole grid that isn't making sense, and so we're working with them. One of the issues we saw was that a supervisor was making less than someone they were supervising, so we're just trying to clean those up.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any questions or comments regarding? Yes, Justine.
In the services and supplies table, which it might be helpful to have that on the screen. There's a couple of lines which, although not a lot of money, the numbers stand out as being very different from this year's year to date, being very different from last year's year to date, and that's the rentals and leases and the interest. And I'm just curious about if the anticipated budget amount will be spent by the end of the year, or if something's different this year from last year.
Through the chair. So the rentals and leases, decrease of 161,000 year over year.
Yes, well, last year the budget was 1.2 and it's gone up to 1.6, yet we've only realized 921,000, whereas last year it was over $1 million. I'm just wondering if we'll ever get to the 1.6.
Yeah, so there are some savings that we realized in that category as well. So part of our sale leaseback agreement that we there's leasebacks are it's on a declining balance. We're paying less as the years go on. So there's some savings realized there, and that got a lower cost this year than we did last year. And then we also have a program that was approved last year, this year's budget. So some of the sales from some of the vehicles that were sold as part of this program go into this category as well. So it's reduced the actual expense line. So we're not expecting to think we would hit the full $1.6 million with these savings, but we would.
And the second part of the question is around the interest, and the year to date is much lower than last year's year to date.
Just referring to
Oh, that's the 328.
Yeah.
It's an interest expense. I think it had to do with this payment being late or something that we don't normally, because they're paid through time basis. We may have missed something that we don't normally anticipate late payments and having interest expense costs. So the goal is to be less on paying interest to third parties. Yes.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. On the same note, Trustee Fraser asked a question about rental leases. Another category which is just glaring on this table was the supplies budget. Yet even, I'm reading the paragraph on the next page which explains despite the lower overall expense due to the timing of the certain costs are incurred, it's expected the entire budget will be spent. So in 10 months, we spent like almost 50% or just over 50%. Can we know what kind of supplies we are, what kind of items that we are talking about when we say almost half the budget will be spent in the last 2 months and 10 months?
So it would be all sorts of supplies that at any point in time. Some computer supplies that are Apple, which is anything that would be operating supplies on a regular basis that don't have specific.
I think, tools and department and purchase more at the end of the year than they do throughout the school year. And, it's something that is a challenge all the time because you want to make sure that the budgets that are given to schools are actually spent. I think that's the challenge we have here in terms of, and it may also relate to whether or not we have, at the end of April or at the end of any given month that we approve that we haven't paid for yet, but still been correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's fair to say, so this is very normal probably every year that like a lot more expenses under this category get spent end of the year than throughout the year?
It's my experience in my career that's the case. I mean, that was the case in Langley where lots of money was spent in the last 2 or 3 months. think I've seen the same here in the last years since I've been here.
Okay, seeing no more questions or comments. Oh, no, there are a couple, all right, Allison.
I wasn't sure if I heard something correctly about revenue from BC Hydro when you were speaking on in the revenue section. Could you repeat what you said about that?
Through the chair. It wasn't revenue. It has the sale of BC Hydro. As I closed earlier this year, $65 million. So that's just the additional cash that the district's holding in the central deposit program that allows us to earn extra revenue, the interest revenue side of things.
Barry?
Thank you. To the chair, I recognize that this isn't directly related to this budget item. Well, it is related, but not directly on this budget item. But given that the projected surplus seems to be a little bit better than what you were anticipating when version 3 of the 1920 operating budget was presented at the last board meeting. So there was a couple of proposals, or at least one in particular, and maybe two, depending how you look at it, kind of died on the order paper. One being some question about whether the international program coordinator position would need to potentially be a part-time position. Is there any update to, given that the surplus needs to be higher than as of May 27th? Is there any update?
Barry,
Next year's budget?
Yeah, I understand. You know what? That's a good question. I brought that up myself this evening. I think tonight's the first time that the trustees have seen this increase in budget. So I would imagine over the next month before some discussion around the table about that. And maybe not just that issue, but maybe other stuff as well. Else? Ed? Just for the record, I just wanted to note that Trustee Chan Pedley is attending tonight's committee meeting by telephone, so we do have a quorum here that way. And we'll move on to information item 2.2, the needs budget working group. Zach?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So, as the report states, and as I'm sure you're aware, the board passed a motion in May 28, 2018 about the district preparing a needs budget and how that ties into the strategic plan and receiving input from board stakeholders. So the working group has been formed. We've met 6 times since November, I guess, or December 2018, and came up with the themes of equity and advocacy to use for the needs budget. In terms of reference for the needs budget working group, came in front of the Finance Committee on February 20th, 2019, and subsequently approved by the Board of Education March 4th, 2019. Had some good meetings, some good representation. The last meeting that we had, stakeholders sort of put their wish list on communicated their wish list to the group, and it's been broken up in the report under advocacy and financial. So under the advocacy piece, there was sort of the I guess the discussion centered around increased funding for the ministry for the annual facility grant for the district to offset deferred maintenance. Also, district to comply with the board motion on and in-school drinking. There was also discussion around advocating for increased overall funding to implement the new curriculum, and then also to fund for download of provincial costs. Some of the download of provincial costs that I think was referred to, things like the carbon offsets, currently the employer health tax, which used to be the MSP, the next generation network cost increases, which has to do with the online access for all the schools and all the sites in the district. And in the table there, we've identified sort of the stakeholders that brought up these advocacy pieces that they would like the board to communicate back to the ministry. I think that'll go back when the district does a submission to the Select Standing Committee on Finance and Government Services. Under the financial table, and the one thing I should mention here is that this is what staff had heard from the stakeholders. So I haven't had a chance to go back and vet this through the work group yet. Wanted to get it in front of the Finance Committee for now anyways. Based on the identified list of positions or services that stakeholders identified that could be added back to the district's budget. See, there's a total of about 303 FTE positions and the total dollar cost about $26.2 million, which has been identified. So really the next step is to put a submission in front of the Select Standing Committee. Well, I'll need to vet this through the working group.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments about it?
So we have done a lot of work on this, and it was really great, but it was very compressed towards the end. And as Shazad mentioned, this document in its current form did not come back to the Needs Budget Working Group, and I think that is a really important piece for us. There are a few concerns that we have about it from Vesta's point of view, particularly around the libraries and around the remedy.
Timing of
Friday.
Fridays for the deadline for submission of the act back to the Select Standing Committee.
Jen?
Sorry, can you,
I was just saying that.
addressing the committee?
Asking Shazad whether we can keep that meeting set for the budget work. 30 in order to be able to bring it back to the group before we submit it. Yes, Trustee Perry.
Thank you, Chair. It also goes to the board, I hope. I mean, if it's a presentation to the finance, whatever, from the board, shouldn't the board have final approval of what we're going to pay?
Jeremy's going to go back on that.
I can't speak to here. I can't speak to time prior to being here, but 2017, 2018, she did submit Select Standing Committee
is a timing challenge. Normally, the select standing committee had been in fall. This year, it's been moved up to June, so that was part of the challenge.
We do have a meeting at the end of this month, so I think it's June 24th. Possible to. I don't think it was originally contemplated by the motion, but I wasn't sure. Thank you.
In terms of reference, it does say, works through the finance committee to support the vision.
Sure.
Should ultimately land.
Or
To be an endpoint.
sure. Yes.
Here, is the needs budget working for next year to the following year?
No motion for that.
Here to the Hazel, I mean, conversations that we've had here and last year, you know, we thought that the this needs budget work and the, you know, the inclusion of the select standing a basis on which to move development and budget in 2021 earlier stage because we would identified already, you know, what stakeholders thought that segue into the process that we started earlier. We didn't contemplate actually going process.
Well, if it, okay.
No, of course.
Well, if it does run next year, which I think from your, I don't know what it was, I feel and especially if there's a motion passed board, we just had a newly elected executive, so I think if we mention it right about now, it would happen.
Further questions? Yes, Mr. Freeman.
Yeah, I think I see, like, because of the advance, you know, because the select standing committee positions have moved up, I think whatever we have available from where the needs budget process is at the time, that could be for that submission. You know, the work of the budget working group could continue forward and then get linked into the budget process for next year. So I don't think that it necessarily has to be like he's saying. I think Alison saying that the work needs to continue. I don't think there needs to be a hard stop, but you know, as the work, you know, if the working group does meet again this year, they could think about what work can be achieved this month, what work can continue. And I think if the board would formally adopt and approve a needs budget, that could become part of next year's budget cycle. I mean, this is the first time we've gone through this process, so you know, we're learning as we're going on. I really appreciate that all the stakeholders are part of the discussions and bringing all these things to the table. And you know, just seeing 26 million from the first pass of what the different stakeholders have identified, you know, that's a turn of money.
I think the critical component is that going back to the report goes to the slides and hasn't come back to you. So I think that needs to happen. So I'm sure that happens. That's a trustee.
I'd like to correct myself because yes, he actually was part of the working group. I just, I think I just wasn't involved in the process. So my question is just, how were the stakeholders brought together? What kind of process were they brought through in the working group?
Yeah. Chair. process was really developed in terms of reference initially. Just took a few meetings and then came down to each group doing historical budgets, seeing where we have column see where the cuts were made and what should be reinstated, and looking at it from an equity lens, sure that whatever's brought forward is to contribute towards student success. So identifying that. So it really came down to once we got the terms of reference set through the equity lens, and then what's required to get back and help students be successful. That's how this list got in there.
Further questions, comments? Yes, Ricky.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Allison earlier said, that we definitely have a lot of questions as well out of this. So I think it'd be very important for the working group to get together and iron those out as well.
Okay, understood.
I've, Chairperson, I remember making presentations to the select standing committee, but that was a long time ago. I don't know if our presentation is specific or general. Like, will our presentation be through our stakeholders? We discovered that the budget, the per pupil amount given to districts for budget should be increased by in order to, or is it, does it specifically get into each one of these items that's listed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, the submissions that we've done in the last couple of years have not been, you might see in that table, for example, but they have been more general in nature. So the one that was submitted in 2018, October, main themes were things like ensuring the Ministry of Education's funding formula new district is also stable, predictable, and adequate funding to enable districts to fulfill the possibility. Provide necessary funding to fully implement the MOU. Provide funding to ensure the new curriculum implementation is being successful. Fully fund cost pressures, so that's addressed in that. To sustain service levels for students, including past and new unfunded cost pressures. Review and increase supplemental funding grants for special needs, students struggling with mental health issues. Provide funding for increased maintenance and upgrades to address needs of aging facilities. Provide sufficient capital funding in honor of the region of the twin upgrade and replace high size schools, and increase funding to schools. Those are the main themes that we had. Subsequent to that, back in March, Chair, working with BCSTA and the request of BCSTA, wrote a letter to the Minister of Education where we tied in some of these themes that were presented to the Select Standing Committee with the recommendations that were in the funding formula, connected the two documents. So my plan is to, this submission to the Standing Committee, is to take what we've done, take some of the work, if we can be a bit more specific on some of the items that are in that needs budget, then I can include that in the report. But I think it'll be a combination. It'll be some, probably mostly general comments, but where I can put in specific information, happy to do that.
Other questions or comments? Just have Trustee Chen Pedley wanted a couple of questions asked, and I just wanted to address those. And Terry, you might be one of the person who can help us clarify this. But Trustee Chen Pedley was wondering about this, the line item, the school revenue generation policy. That was page 3 of this report. She wanted to know if there's any get more information about what that was.
That was one of our goals.
Chair, during the conversation, I think it referred to the revenue that the district earns on sort of movies or TV shows filmed on site. We do a cost sharing with the school, and looking at it through an equity lens, not all schools have, are chosen for movie set. So there's certain schools which receive that additional revenue, and there's schools which don't because they're not part of that circuit, I guess. So how do we share that revenue equitably? Not in
That would be a great example, through the chair.
Perfect, thank you. I think that would probably help her answer her question. And then the other note that she had, maybe just as you answer this, was on page 2 under the advocacy piece, there's a line item for funding of provincially downloaded content.
Yeah, through the chair. So that's what we mentioned earlier about things like carbon offsets, employer health tax now, which is the MSP, so downloading those provincial costs.
Okay. Those are all the questions that I have. Are there any other comments or questions on this line item? Okay. Then there being no items for approval or information item for requests, our next meeting is next year, Wednesday, September 18th, 2019, 6 o'clock. Thank you everyone for coming out.